Hi everybody, how are you all doing?
Good, how are you?
That's good, I'm doing fine. A little nervous. Alright, so on behalf of Choosing Currency, I would like to thank you all for coming out and we hope you enjoy. Nope. Alright, our presentation is on a little bit history of currency. And it is by Melissa Durkis, Colleen Gasser, Katie Gasser, and Vivian Schwer. Alright, so if you are connected in any way to big history, you might have already heard of thresholds. Thresholds are key moments in time when things seem to become more complex. Tonight we'll be focusing on some of the key moments, key thresholds, or key turning points in time that has brought currency to what it is today. Our first threshold is the Big Bang. It occurred 13.7 billion years ago, and that was the birth of the universe. It has unknown Goldilocks conditions and ingredients. What are Goldilocks conditions? It's like in the story of the three bears. It can't be too hot, can't be too cold, it has to be just right for these things to occur. Scientists can only guess at what the Goldilocks conditions or ingredients were that caused this event to occur. There's plenty of evidence and theories for just seconds after, but nothing from before. It created the universe and everything in it. We now have time, space, and a universe that is steadily expanding, and it's creating materials that can create more complex things. Hotspots? Hotspots are where elements and stars are born, and they created Goldilocks conditions, and they also made it available for complexity to occur. And the four fundamental forces that went along with, as the universe expanded, more stars, galaxies, clusters, and superclusters formed. The four fundamental forces that helped with that were gravity, electromagnetism, which was just electricity that had both positive and negative charges, and strong and weak forces, which bind together the nuclei in atoms.
As shown, this is the periodic table, and this is on the threshold new chemical elements. As stars lit up, they also had to die, which gave us new chemical elements. The elements circled are the elements that are in currency. They include titanium, manganese, iron, nickel, copper, silver, gold, and there's also some gases in it: carbon, silicon, and selenium.
The next threshold is called early life on Earth. First we have bartering. Bartering is also known as trading, and it's basically the exchange of goods between two parties of people where they are they're equal value, so they each like what they're getting. Then animals, goods, and metals. These were all very popular when they were trading because in foraging communities, people, they basically scavenge. They would hunt for their food, and when they couldn't hunt and they couldn't get the right food, they kind of depended on their neighbors for what they were going to get, and they depended on them for survival. And then lastly, we have value. Value is basically one cup of rice isn't equal to a pig or a cow. That's just not equal. And this is sort of when that whole entire idea of worth and value became popular. Collective learning is a style of learning in which everyone contributes something to create newer and better ideas. Think of everyone's bit of knowledge and idea as a puzzle piece. To create a puzzle, you need lots of pieces, and you need to combine them and make them work and fit with every other piece to create a puzzle. Through collective learning, there was an increase in interaction in communities. They were interacting with each other. They were trading. They were bartering. They were interacting and learning from each other. They learned that there needed to be an evolution in the currency system. They learned that trading and bartering was just not going to cut it. It just wasn't practical. They needed a more organized, better, more complex system to work and fit their needs. These cities realized that they needed a head or someone in control of these more better and complex currency systems. They realized that someone needed to be in charge. So that's where the governments came in. Governments kind of like made it their policy. Currency is their policy. And they control what's in circulation. They control how much is in circulation. They control what is on those dollar bills and notes. Every single image or detail that is on a dollar bill or a coin, that's controlled by them.
So trading between farmers was a huge step in the right direction of increasing currency and increasing humanity. And it made them think, wouldn't there just be an easier way to get what they wanted instead of having to trade? So they thought of buying, and that's where the earliest forms of banknotes and coins came in. But currency caused them to raise their prices and to compete with other farmers and to also make some profit.
At the beginning of the modern revolution, the four world zones connected. Now, you may be thinking, what are the four world zones? Well, world zones are basically big communities within land masses. The four world zones are Afro-Eurasia, the Americas, Australasia, and the Pacific. When they connected, trading became a big part of currency. It helped them trade from kind of like landmass to landmass, which is where, like you can see in this map, the different signs for the currency. The dollar, the euro, and people decided that machines made things a lot faster and more efficient and with better quality. So machines began to take over the world of creating everything, including currency. Symbolism and security. The symbolism is a major part of currency. As an example, George Washington is on the $1 bill, and he symbolizes unity and trust. As far as security goes, if you hold up a $20 bill, you can see the face of Andrew Jackson next to it when you hold it to a light. So it keeps people from counterfeiting.
Then we have the manufacturing and production process of currency. Then we have a video.
Collector coins using sterling silver, as well as sterling scraps left over from making other coins. The silver goes into a casting furnace at 2100 degrees Fahrenheit. The melted silver is cast into a continuous bar about 1.5 inches high by 5 inches wide. A machine cuts the continuous bar into individual bars about 30 inches long. Each bar goes into what's called the roughing mill. The mill's two rollers squash the bar flat, using up to 9 tons of force. It takes up to a dozen passes to flatten the bar into a strip just ½ an inch thick. A machine called the finishing mill thins the strip out even more to what will be the final thickness of the coin, anywhere from 3/100ths of an inch to 2/10ths of an inch depending on the denomination. Next, the blanking machine stamps out blank coins. The silver that's left over, called sisal, goes back into the casting furnace, where it's melted down into fresh bars of silver. The next stops for the blanks is the rimming machine, whose spinning wheel presses a raised edge or rim on each one. The blanks then go into a tub filled with water, cleaning solutions, and steel beads. The beads act as an abrasive agent, smoothing and polishing the blanks. After a 20-minute cycle, they empty the tub's contents into a sifter to separate the blanks from the beads. Workers then towel dry the blanks by hand. This ensures there'll be no water stains on the coins. Throughout the coin-making process, as the silver is worked, it becomes brittle. So brittle that it could easily break when struck. That's why, at several stages, the metal goes through an oven.
Now we have the future of currency. Square was created by Jack Dorsey, an alum of DeBerg, and he also created Twitter. Square is basically an app on a smartphone that can help the user process credit and debit cards so they can run their business. Jack Dorsey wants to make this worldwide because as of right now, it is just in the North America, and he wants to make it worldwide so he can make a new form of currency.
Bitcoins is the first decentralized digital currency, and it started in 2008. And the way it works is that you can transfer money via the internet directly to person, and without no need for a bank account. And it's great because small businesses and freelancers can get noticed, and there's no chargebacks or fees, and you get additional business from the Bitcoin economy. The penny disappearing, or disappearance. It's being considered to be taken out of circulation because it costs 1.6 cents to actually manufacture it, whereas it's only worth 1 cent. And so it's actually costing more to produce these coins than they're actually worth. If it were taken out of circulation, the prices and costs for things would be rounded up or down depending on the price to make up for the lack of pennies and the lack of exact change.
Alright, before we ask for any questions, we have a setup here. It's the old Monopoly game, and then, I don't know if any of you knew this, but there's actually a new electronic Monopoly game, and it's the electronic banking one. This sort of represents the history of 13.7 billion years of currency, because it goes from paper money, as you all can see, paper money, to the credit cards and the electronic banking system. So we thought that was a pretty neat thing to show you all. And now, any questions? Mrs. Ogden.
What was the most surprising thing you learned doing your research?
I want to mention my fact. Okay, so I actually used this as my intro to my paper, but I learned that the Danes would slit the noses of people who did not pay the poll tax, and that's where the phrase "to pay through the nose" came from. That was Any more questions? Mr. Mella.
When you did your research on the evolution and perhaps the end of the penny, and also Mr. Dorsey's talk of a universal currency, did you guys formulate any sort of guess as to how soon those things might come about, when the penny might go away, and we might have a universal credit sort of system?
I know that they are still considering the penny. It's obviously a big decision to make considering it's been used for so long. But I don't know if in any of our research we really found anything saying any concrete.
It's going to be like really soon. Yeah, Square just wants Jack Dorsey just wants Square to come out and help the world.
It didn't come
evolve.
Yeah, like it didn't come out that long ago, so I'm guessing it's already become such a huge part, like craft fairs and all that, like people will use those, and it's so much easier than having to make sure that you have change on hand. Then like people will have their credit cards and they can just slide them in. But it's probably, I'm gonna make a guess that it's probably gonna be pretty soon that it's worldwide.
Hello? So if I give you a generation being 20 years, do you think it's within inside that generation?
Yeah. Any other questions?
As a young person, you're seeing the electronic types of currency come about. How secure do you feel about electronic currency? With paper money that's in your hand, the only way it can really be taken from you is if you give it to somebody else, or it can be physically taken from you. With electronic currency, now your money resides in an electronic environment and can be accessed in any number of ways. We all know about computer hacking and breaches in computer security. There's recent articles in the newspapers about Schnucks and how their credit accounts were breached, and information about people's currency accounts or people's credit accounts became available. How does that make you feel? Do you feel secure with an electronic currency? Do you think that's something that's going to be a problem for you as you grow older, or do you think that's something that will not be much of a problem, that society will develop secure means to carry on electronic currency transactions?
That is a really good question. I mean, that's a really good point, that we do have to worry about how safe we are with everything becoming so electronic. But like the dollar bills, at first there was a period when counterfeiting, it was common and it was very easy. But now it's becoming harder, and they're making more security features. And so we can only hope, I suppose, that they add these security features and make it harder and more difficult for hackers to hack into our systems.
That was a really good answer.
What's your current preference? I mean, right now, do you prefer making a paper or using the plastic, or do you prefer being online and making electronic?
Then I can actually be it.
Well, I don't have a job, so I would say I probably prefer the paper money because it's right there and I can feel. Yeah, I know it's right there with me.
Let me rephrase that question. Have you noticed a change in your parents' behaviors? Have you noticed, now that you've been studying this evolution from paper to electronic currency, did that spark your awareness of the different ways that your parents spend their money?
Yes.
I feel like people are more aware when they have cash money. Like, they are more aware of how much they're spending at any given time. Whereas when they have like a debit card with them, it's like, oh, we still have money in it. Like, this goes for everybody. Like, we still have money in it, so I can just go buy this or I can just go buy that. But when they have cash, like, it goes for me too. I'm less likely to just go off and buy something. So yes, definitely.
Are there any more questions?
Any more? Don't be shy. We know you want to ask them, so ask away or not. Either way.
Okay, we also have world currency over on the desk over there if you want to take a look after the shoes presentation.
Thank you.
Thank you.